From Abram to Abraham. Genesis chapter 17 verses 1 to 27, Isaiah chapter 63 verses 10 to 19 and Romans chapter 4 verses 10 to 25. Introduction. Why do some people even change their names? Does it have a benefit? Why did Adonai sometimes change a person's name in the Bible? Once again Adonai appeared to Abram, but this time as El Shaddai, which means God Almighty, and he told Abram to walk with him. Abram must be faithful and allow Adonai to navigate his journey. Next is Abram must be blameless. The Hebrew word for blameless is taman, which means sincere, perfect, such as Adonai called Abram to be sincere in obeying him. In verse 5, Adonai changed the name of Abram to Abraham. Why? In Genesis chapter 12 verse 2 Adonai said that he will make Abram just a great nation, and in verse 5, he will make his name great. Then in Genesis chapter 15 verse 5, he brought Abram outside to look toward heaven and count the stars, because his descendants will be innumerable. From great nation to a father of many nations, will be his new identity based on Adonai's promise of seed. Abram's new name shows us that Adonai is going to fulfill his promise and plan. Aside from being a father of many nations, he will bear a son through Sarai, and they will call him Isaac. Then eventually, Isaac will bear two sons, Esau and Jacob, through Rebekah. Then Jacob will bear 12 sons through Rachel, and they will be called the 12 tribes of Israel. Also, through Abraham the nations of the world will be blessed, but it will not be possible if it were not for the one who comes from the tribe of Judah, from Abraham's line, and he is Messiah Yeshua, who will bring the nations of the world back into a right connection with Adonai Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. Also, Adonai changed the name of Sarai, my princess, to Sarah, princess. It was an assurance by Adonai to Abraham that Sarah would have a son. When Adonai changes a name, it means that something will happen. A new character to that person, new relationship, and new life. In Revelation chapter 2 verse 17b it says, "And I will give him a white stone, and on the stone a new name written which no one knows except him who receives it." And also in chapter 3 verse 12, "I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from my God. And I will write on him my new name." Yeshua will give us a new name by which we will know him. It's very obvious that after the changing of Abram's name, the sign of the covenant was given. Since the covenant dealt with offspring, Adonai put the sign of his covenant on Abraham's private part through circumcision. Regarding with this covenant, as for Adonai verses 7 to 8, first, he will establish his covenant with Abraham and to his descendants that he will be the God. Second, he will give to Abraham and his descendants all the land of Canaan as an everlasting possession, and again he will be the God. As for Abraham verses 9 to 15, first, he and his descendants shall keep Adonai's covenant throughout their generations. Second, he who is 8 days old among Abraham must be circumcised, and even he who is not born from his house, who is bought by his money. As for Sarah, verses 15 to 16, she will bear a son and she shall be a mother of nations. Our Haftarah portion deals with the reminder of Isaiah to Israel about how they rejected and rebelled against Adonai. But he remains faithful to his covenant. In verse 15 to 19, the chosen people of Adonai realized that even they were chosen, they have not been in a right dealing with him. In verse 17, Israel pleaded to Adonai to turn back toward her for the sake of his servants. Now in apostolic, Apostle Paul demonstrates that circumcision became Abraham's confirmation that his righteousness comes by faith while he was still uncircumcised, verse 11. For Paul, circumcision was not the basis for making Abraham righteous. He is saying that circumcision serves as confirmation of the righteousness Abraham had through faith. Adonai gave the sign because Abraham will be the father of all who believe, both the Jews and Goyim. The connection of our parasha is about the importance of having a new character in obeying Adonai. In Torah, Adonai changed Abram's name to Abraham to give him a new character. The result, he followed Adonai's covenant. He was circumcised, his son Ishmael, and all who were born in his house. In Haftarah, Israel rebelled against Adonai. They need to have a new character to obey him. In Apostolic, verse 20 says that Abraham did not waver at the promise of Adonai but was strengthened in faith, giving glory to him as a proof of his new character. Back to my introduction, when Adonai changed a person's name, it is to indicate a new beginning or new direction in a person's life. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 1, a good name is to be more desired than great wealth, favor is better than silver and gold. Shabbat Shalom.